Hello everyone, and welcome back to Hytale News on the Hytale News Network. I'm your host, Hex, and today we'll be going over Hytale's amazing world generation, and some of the structures that will be generated along with the world. But first, I'd like to apologize for the late upload. As you may have noticed, I recently moved the Hytale News series over to my main channel, meaning I had to change some things outside of the news show, taking up a considerable amount of time. But we're back now, so let's get right into the news. It's no surprise that massive open worlds like Hytale and Minecraft need a world generator to create a world for you and your friends to explore. So the thought of a world generator isn't exactly new or fun. What makes it interesting is what the world generator is capable of doing and how it creates it. As shown in this piece of concept art that was created shortly after the development of Hytale began, the world of Orbis is separated into 4 zones, with an additional 2 that are currently hidden. Zone 1 consists of irregular forests, rivers, lakes, and hills. Zone 2 is made up of large deserts and frankly impressive rock formations, spanning miles. Zone 3 is your generic yet beautiful snowy plains, mountains with frozen lakes, and forests. Zone 4 is the last one that is currently available for us to see. It is a hellish landscape covered in lava and volcanoes with exposed crystals residing in its surface. UA1, a term we're using to describe the unannounced region, looks like a dark place to be. We can vaguely make out smoke and lightning, and some dead plains near Zone 4's corner. UA2 has a bit more color poking through this blur effect, leading us to believe this is a sort of endgame area with a beautiful or dark landscape. An important thing to note about this concept art is that the cave systems under each zone seems to get more complex and rewarding the further you go through the zones. Zone 1 having your typical caves, ores, and dungeons, with Zone 4 having beautiful underground ecosystems. A friendly reminder that this concept art was created shortly after work on Hytale began, so things may change drastically upon release of the beta. This screenshot taken from the Hytale site shows us a sample of what Zone 1 will look like, with rivers, rolling hills, islands, forests, and small mountains, arches, and various generated structures, or points of interest, dotted throughout the landscape. This second screenshot shows us a transition between 2 different zones or biomes, from a nice green forest to a snowy taiga with some beautiful glowing vegetation. An important thing to note is that each zone has its own set of blocks and distinct content like furniture, NPC races, creatures, plant life, weather patterns, and geology. This sample of the same house shows you these differences. Buildings aren't the only things with different features depending on the zone. Coastlines have different zone-specific features too. This screenshot shows the mountainous coast belonging to Zone 3, while this screenshot shows the sandy beaches of Zone 2. These unique elements continue underwater in Hytale's beautiful oceans, from underwater structures like sunken cities to caves. As stated in the World Gen blog post, the oceans can be considered zones themselves. World generation rules applies to the underground areas too, and boy are there a lot of them. While the world generation plays differently depending on the zone, there are a few universal principles that span across all zones. These universal principles are most probably just basic shape information for caves themselves, making caves big enough for you to walk in and explore, and similar things. Needless to say, the caves in Hytale are full of secrets, creatures to encounter, dungeons, and most importantly, epic loot inside those dungeons. Dungeons are comprised of multiple chambers and encounters, joined by connecting passageways, often culminating in a final room, providing challenges and special rewards. While the outside world can be generated, buildings obviously cannot. But that doesn't mean the buildings can't be different. In fact, Hytale has more than 3,785 prefabs ranging from abandoned buildings to the various rooms seen in underground dungeons. And even the trees you'll be walking by all the time. Each prefab is custom built and is the equivalent of a blueprint for a particular piece of content. In addition to their visual design, they can have their own triggers and events attached too. Right here, you can see concept art for a Gaian portal, the entrance to a portal dungeon. As stated in the blog post, when you meet the criteria necessary to unlock one, you'll enter a hand-designed encounter with its own rules and terrain. You'll be limited in what blocks you can break within these portal dungeons, challenging you to overcome obstacles using your other skills. Depending on the zone you're in, the portal's entrance's looks can vary. It's no surprise that glitches can sometimes happen when parts of the world generation interact or overlap with each other. But Hypixel doesn't see them as a detriment to gameplay. Here in Hytale, they're seen as happy little accidents that provide for truly unique experiences. Here in this screenshot, we can see that a dungeon was split in half by a ravine, replacing the conventional cave exploration experience with a totally unique one. This next screenshot shows a ravine going under a small river, with part of a watchtower hanging over the ravine. This final screenshot shows a river colliding with a rock formation, creating a beautiful tunnel for you to easily cross through. These happy little moments occur when the principles Hypixel laid out for a given zone combines to form surprising and unique results. Well everyone, that's all for this episode of Hytale News. If you disliked this video for whatever reason, then you know what to do. But if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that like button and get subscribed for more high quality content like this. That's all for now, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you all so much for watching. Each prefab is custom built, and is the equivalent of a blueprint? Yes, a blueprint.